Serpent'S Egg, Olavo de Carvalho, Jornal da Tarde, February 5th, 1998. In the United States, England, and Sweden, there are openly Nazi organizations, militant, active, armed. Yet, none of them have ever made headlines in major newspapers. David Duke, the Nazi leader who almost became a candidate for the US presidency, never appeared in 120-point font on the front page of the New York Times, Washington Post, or Washington Times. In Brazil there is no Nazi militancy, except perhaps in mental institutions. This is a country where even classics of literature accused of Nazi sympathies have been absent from bookstores for decades without anyone noticing. It is a country where, in short, Nazism is a merely distant and fading memory of a nightmare lost in the fogs of the past. Yet, in this country, eight teenagers who, in a school assignment, vaguely express some appreciation for this historical figure of Adolf Hitler, not only make headlines, but also spark a national wave of apocalyptic warnings against the Nazi threat. To an uninformed observer, the Brazilian press reaction to the military school of Porto Alegre incident created unmistakable impression that hordes of brownskirts are on the verge of marching on the Palácio do Planalto. However, the hysterical fear of an imaginary threat coexists in the same minds with an un-Olympian calm in the face of a real and imminent danger. We must ask, is this madness or method? Nearly all the voices of anti-Nazi alarmism come from leftist journalists and intellectuals who calmly and sympathetically view the announced invasion of ministries, tanks, and private buildings by the armed militants of the MST, Landless Workers Movement. The malicious strategy is more than evident. The global left has always tried to sell socialism as the only alternative to Nazism, as if Nazism itself weren't a form of socialism. The indecent proposal is either them or us springs almost automatically from the lips of leftists whenever a Nazi danger appears on their horizon. The novelty that the Brazilian left has just introduced into this dirty little game is taking it to the peak of shamelessness. When there is no Nazi danger to use as a blackmailing weapon, they invent one. To do so, they blow it up to the point of insanity, turning into front page news in major capital city dailies, an episode that would hardly merit a seminar paper in a small town classroom. A story is created out of nothing, just like God created the world. The late Jean Millet, a virtuoso of scandal, made Notícias Populares famous using this method. When he couldn't get the precise information from Rede Record about which hotel the biggest star of Jovem Guarda stayed at in New York during a vacation, he published an 8-column headline: Roberto Carlos is missing. Fans, in cheers, lined up at the newsstands. The old Chagas Freitas did something similar with O Dia in A Notícia. The factory worker gets sick after eating a hot dog. Headline: Dog made the girl sick. It's about playing with words to change either the meaning or the scale of events. The journalistic class, so proud of its ability to self-regulate, gives no sign of realizing that when the mainstream press adopts Jean Millet's tactics, something, in fact, has rotted in the conscience of professionals. If everyone refuses to smell it, it's under the high-minded pretext that the lofty political goals of the operation have miraculously transformed the garbage into something sublime. Everyone assumes that the struggle for power is more admirable than the struggle for money. In the name of the cause, throwing the last scruples of professional ethics out of the windows become a noble act. Not all the protagonists of this farce are the naive beginners. Danilo Ventura, in a dramatic half-page piece in Jornal do Brasil, wants to persuade us that he sees the Porto Alegre episode as a serpent's egg. Did Zornier make a mistake? Did he, in a trance of ideological intoxication, lose all sense of proportion? No, a seasoned journalist doesn't confuse serpent's eggs with quail eggs so naively. There is no mistake. By denouncing the boys from Porto Alegre as guilty of mental delinquency, note the term, Suenier reveals his intention to turn journalism into a thought police, directly copied from George Orwell's 1984. If this snake-like entity, still an official, already reigns supreme over much of the Brazilian press without anyone daring to contest its pretensions, this article will never be accepted in a real newspaper, what will it do in the socialist Brazil of tomorrow, when its services are recognized and rewarded by the state? The serpent from Porto Alegre, besides being still in the egg state, is a hypothetical and fake egg, a cardboard egg, manufactured by an artificial intellect. But the other one I'm talking about has long since hatched, is alive and well. It's not always visible, but everyone can hear it. And that is precisely its peculiarity. All snakes lay eggs, but when one of them starts chuckling like a chicken, something very strange is happening. And if, to explain its bizarre behavior, it tells us its hen-like hysteria is caused by the fear of the mere sight of an egg, then, my friends, it's up to something. Therefore, between the hypothesis of madness and method, I choose both. The systematic exploitation of induced madness for political ends is, in itself, madness of the highest degree. It's the cold, rational madness of revolutionaries willing to justify the means by the ends, as if the habitual use of certain means wouldn't eventually determine the nature of the ends.